Have you ever opened social media for just 5 minutes, but somehow an hour passed? Or maybe you have both something, followed a trend, or even changed your opinion because you kept seeing it online. If you have ever experienced that, then this episode is for you. Welcome to our Media Literacy Podcast. I am Christine H. Ryla, your host, and today we are joined by three content creators: Miss Krisha P. Araes, Miss Fabi Arupe, and Miss Kathleen Paglinawan. Today, we are going to talk about our social media habits, misinformation, algorithms, online influence, and the way social media affects the choices we make. But all of these lead to one big question: are we really controlling social media? Or is social media controlling us? So, let's find out. Now, let's go back to the beginning. When did you first start using social media? And who influenced you to join?
I started using social media when I was pretty young, probably around 12 or 13 years old. At that time, I honestly didn't think much about what social media really is. I just thought, oh, this looks fun. Let me make an account. Looking back, I realized that I was using something very powerful without fully understanding how powerful it actually was.
I started using social media when I was maybe still young, maybe around grade 5. I was really curious about it back then, and I guess that's where everything started.
Oh, I was introduced to social media when I was young because my mom lent me her phone and I'd be so curious about it and how does it works. And also, that time content creation is so popular and lots of people started their own vlogs, and me also. I started content creation when I was 5, and that time my content is more on kiddie things like how to make slime or toy hauls. And also I have my cousin with me to help me what to do or what type of content should I do next.
That's interesting because they mentioned that they started quite young and that their friends played a big role in introducing them to social media. Do you think that's still how young people discover social media today? Because their friends are already using it?
Yes, because the more you engage with the environment kasi is the more you attract the behavior or the practices.
Since you started using social media at a young age, did your family ever warn you about its negative effects?
Yeah, actually, they didn't really want me to use any social media platform at first because they were worried I'd get addicted to it. But I was so stubborn back then, I didn't listen to them. And eventually, they just shrugged it off and told me, you'll get addicted to it. And honestly, they were right.
Yes, that is also the reason why I stopped creating contents at a very young age is because my parents are worried about the high potential risk online like bashing, and at that time also I don't have the confidence and understanding to accept criticisms, and it's given that I am only a 5 years old at that time.
Yes, my family always reminded me to be careful about what I post and who I interact with online. They told me that not everyone online is trustworthy and that I shouldn't share private information with strangers.
Looking back now, do you think your family's advice helped or were there lessons you only understood after experiencing them yourself?
You know what? I always thank them for guiding me because I always apply my learnings in real world situations, not only in content creation.
For me, they didn't really give me that much advice, but I think most of what I know came from my own experiences. Sometimes you really have to experience things yourself to understand the lesson behind them.
I think both. Their advice gave me a good foundation, but some lessons only really made sense when I experienced them myself. Like, for example, I learned that not every comment deserves a response, and not every viral post deserves to be believed. Experience taught me to slow down, think critically, and not let the internet make every decision for me.
So, even before algorithms and influencers entered the picture, the people around us were already influencing how we use social media. But what happens when we become the people influencing others? What inspired each of you to become a content creator or influencer?
I want to be a content creator because I want to educate and I want to be an inspiration for others to enjoy life and continue romanticize life.
Oh my god, I really love this question. My one and only inspiration is my little me, the young Krisha who dream of becoming influencer someday. Despite all the struggles and everything I've been through, that little version of me will always remind me why I started and why I keep going.
What inspired me was the idea that I could use my creativity to connect with other people. I realized that content isn't just about getting views. You can make someone laugh after they've had a bad day, teach someone something useful, or encourage someone to try something new. That impact is what made me want to continue.
And once people started listening to you, did you feel that your responsibility online became bigger?
Thinking about it, maybe yes. When you have people listening to you, you become more aware of what you say and post. But honestly, I never really considered being an influencer as a job. I do this because I genuinely love making content and sharing things with people.
For me, I'm not doing a content because I want to be popular, but because I love the passion and art of content creation. And I don't really expect that people would start to love it and demand for more videos because I only do it for myself and for the passion inside me.
Yes, the bigger your audience becomes, the bigger your responsibility becomes. If I have thousands of people listening to me, I can just post anything without thinking. I have to remember that something I say as a joke could be taken seriously by someone else. Having influence means having responsibility.
That's interesting. So, even if you don't consider it a job, do you think your words can still affect the people watching?
Yes, because being an influencer means being a good role model for your audience, and every actions you take is a big influence to the viewers. That's why being a content creator is not easy because you have to be precautious in every words or actions you take.
So, having an audience isn't just about getting views, it also means understanding that people are actually listening. Now, let's talk about our main topic, media literacy. When you hear the words media literate, what comes to your mind?
To me, being media literate means being able to understand, question, and responsibly use information. It's not simply knowing how to use TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. It's knowing how to ask who created this, why did they create it, is this information reliable, and what could happen if I share it. Basically, don't believe everything just because it has thousands of likes.
For me, being media literate means knowing what to believe and what not to believe online. It's not just about seeing something and immediately sharing it. You have to know how to check information, understand the context, and be responsible with what you put out there.
My current knowledge, media literacy is a media education where we can learn how to be a literate person when it comes to social media usage, and it also contains etiquettes or netiquettes on how to responsibly use it as a human and also part of the society. And through it, we can apply it to ourselves, real life situations, not only in social media.
Would you honestly consider yourselves media literate people?
Since I am at the right age, I think I am fully aware of things that make you as a media literate person. From basics to critical, I think I am fully aware of it now. And because of that, I am confident to consider myself as a media literate.
I'd say yes, but I'm still learning. I don't think anyone is 100% media literate. because there's always new information and new things happening online. For me, being media literate means being willing to learn, question things, and fact check before believing or sharing something.
I would say yes, but I'm still learning. Being media literate doesn't mean you can never be fooled. Even experienced people can encounter misleading information. What matters is developing the habit of checking before believing or sharing. I try to look at different sources, check where information came from, and avoid immediately reacting to emotional or shocking posts.
Miss Arope, you mentioned checking the source, date, evidence, and other reliable sources. Why do you think people still believe information even when they haven't checked it?
I don't rely on just one post. I check the source, date, evidence, and other reliable sources. I don't immediately repost it. I ask where did this information come from, and if I can't verify it, I don't share it. I'd rather be late than be confidently wrong.
Media nowadays is so confusing because a lot of vloggers, including themselves in the journalism, and that's what makes them confusing because a lot of them is just using the bait to gain viewers or engagements, even though it hasn't proven yet. That's why when it comes to reality events, I always check them by myself by searching articles from credible and reliable sources. Because at this moment, it's very risky to share a single post online because everything can cause a digital impact.
Have any of you ever believed or shared something online that later turned out to be false?
Personally, I always look for the author who posted it or check their profiles because that is the easiest way to know it if it's reliable or not. Yes, this is so relatable, ha, because there's a certain issue before and it got me shocked and convinced to believe because a lot of people are posting about it. But then I found out that it's just a false narrative. And the funniest part is I even joined the topic and shared it with people around me, but it turns out to be a false narrative. And because of that moment, I learned about the importance of fact checking before including yourself in. And that's how alive the quote, think before you click is.
For me, no, not really. Although I'm not perfect, I don't usually share something that was literally updated minutes ago, especially when there's no source indicated. I'd rather wait and make sure it's actually true than be the reason misinformation spreads.
Honestly, no, not really. I'm usually careful about what I believe and share online, especially when the information is new or comes from an unclear source. I always try to check the facts first before posting anything. It taught me that it's better to take a little more time to verify something than to accidentally spread false information.
If someone watching this podcast asks you how to avoid fake news, what one piece of advice would you give to them?
Check the source, check the date, look for evidence, compare it with reliable sources, and don't share something just because it makes you angry or excited. Emotions can make us react before we think, so my biggest advice is pause before you post.
Always practice fact checking, okay? I guess we used to normalize it as an everyday routine since we're already living in the modern technology na. And as a content creator, it's more like it's my responsibility to always check my socials or what's happening in the media.
Is always my code. Think before you click. Learn how to fact check, check the source, and don't easily get fooled just because something looks convincing or has a lot of likes. Always remember the viral does not always mean true.
So, being media literate isn't just knowing how to use social media, it is knowing when to pause, question, check, and think before reacting. Now, let's talk about something we can probably all relate to, our online habits. Be honest. What's the first thing you usually do when you wake up? Do you check your phone or not?
Girl, that doom scrolling effect, duh. I'm kinda pissed of myself whenever I try to scroll online because later a while, I just slowly realize I'm already doom scrolling for an hour na and bed rotting. That's why I always practice to organize myself and leave the apps for a while that makes me rot all day. And surprisingly, it's effective naman for me.
Okay, I'll admit it. Sometimes, yes, I'll wake up and think I'll just check one notification. Then suddenly I'm watching three videos, checking messages, and wondering how 30 minutes disappeared.
I used to check my phone right away, but I realized that whenever I did that, nothing memorable would happen to my day because I just end up bed rotting. So now I try to start my morning with yoga or simple stretches before touching my phone.
Why do you think checking our phones has become such an automatic habit?
I think we got to used to having our phone with us that checking them become automatic. Sometimes we don't even realize we're already doing it. That's why I think we have to learn how to control it before it starts controlling our routine.
Yeah, relates so much. I don't know what's with them, but it's kind of like attaching me.
Because social media designed to keep our attention, there's always something new, a notification, message, video, or post. We're curious about what we might be missing, so we keep on checking. Sometimes we're not even looking for anything specific. We just open the app automatically because it has become part of our routine.
What's one online habit you are proud of?
Probably listening to subliminals. Not a lot of people know about this, but for me, it's kind of like listening to a podcast, but more on the motivational and calming side. It gives me peace of mind, especially when I need to reset myself.
Probably keeping my social media feed organized. I regularly unfollow or mute accounts that don't make me feel good and follow people who inspire me or teach me something. I think the content we see every day can affect our mindset, so I try to make my feed a healthier space.
And what's one online habit you are still trying to improve?
Probably spending too much time scrolling. Sometimes I tell myself 5 minutes na lang, then suddenly I've been scrolling for an hour. I'm still learning how to balance being active online without letting social media take too much of my time.
Definitely spending less unnecessary time scrolling. Sometimes you tell yourself 5 more minutes, and suddenly it's an hour later. I'm trying to be more intentional with my screen time and make sure I'm actually using social media instead of letting social media use me.
Social media isn't only about entertainment. Sometimes it can also affect how we feel about ourselves. Do likes, comments, and views ever affect your confidence or the content you decide to post?
Yeah, so much. Kasi if you're a content creator, you must observe or reflect every action you made online because every simple post has a bigger impact to the audience eh. And you should also know what type of content your audiences loves too kasi in that way you can easily get their attention eh and loyalty.
Sometimes, of course, I'm human, so seeing a lot of likes and positive comments can definitely make me happy and motivated. But I try not to let numbers decide my worth or what I should create. At the end of the day, I still want to make content that I genuinely enjoy.
Of course, getting positive comments feels good, but when a post doesn't perform well, it's easy to wonder if your content isn't good enough. I've learned that numbers are feedback, not a measurement of my worth. If I let every number decide how I feel about myself, social media would control me.
Have you ever wanted to post something but decided not to because you were worried people wouldn't like it?
Yes, definitely. Sometimes I have an idea that I really like, but I start thinking, what if people make fun of it? Or what if nobody likes it? But I've realized that if I only post things I know everyone will approve of, I'll eventually stop being myself. So now I try to ask myself, Do I actually like this? And does it represent me?
Yes, definitely. There are times when I overthink and wonder if people will like it or if they'll judge me. But I'm slowly learning that if I always create based on other people's opinion, I lose the reason why I started creating in the first place.
As content creators, how do you deal with rude comments, criticism, or people who don't support your content?
Okay, here's the thing ha. I want this to remind everyone who wants to enter the content creation world na be ready for bashers, be ready for the mental stresses you'll be facing kasi somehow it's like na-normalize na rin siya eh, and we can force or control someone's mind to stop the bashing, and in order to deal with it is to think na okay, this is just a normal thing since I am in this world na, and yeah, I can force everyone to like me, and then go. Face the world, mind your own business. And the most important of all is don't post everything that is not appropriate, okay? Even your current location, current life status, or anything that is too personal. Like I mentioned earlier, na entering content creation world may lose your privacy, but in order to avoid that is to be a wise and responsible user of social media. Kasi in that way, you were like giving your bashers an extra tour in your personal space, and that's how scary bashing is in content creation world.
Yes, definitely. As an influencer, I've also encountered rude comments and misinformation, but I've learned that social media only shows you a small part of someone's life. You shouldn't measure your own worth based on someone else's highlight reel.
Honestly, I just remind myself that not everyone will like me or my content, and that's okay. I try not to give too much energy to people who are only there to bring me down. For serious situation like fake accounts or anything that crosses a boundary, I'd rather block, report, and protect my peace than entertain it.
So, even though creators influence their audiences, audiences can also influence creators. That makes us wonder who is really influencing whom. Let's talk about something we don't always see but experience every day: algorithms. Do you think social media algorithms understand our interests better than we realize?
Yes, because I think social media is also doing its job to entertain me, and maybe that is the reason why they also serve me contents that matches to my interests.
OMG, yes! It's actually funny because when I'm sad, I like one sad post and suddenly my whole feed is full of heartbreak content. Same thing when I'm hungry. I like one mukbang video and suddenly I'm seeing food everywhere and end up ordering food online. The algorithm really knows how to feed our interests.
Sometimes I think they do, which is honestly a little scary. The algorithm notices the little things we do, like what videos we skip, replay, or spend time watching. Before we know it, our feed is already filled with things we're interested in. But I still think we know ourselves better because an algorithm only sees our online behavior, not who we really are.
Miss Arais gave us a really funny example. She said that if she likes one sad video, suddenly her feed is full of sad videos. And if she watches one food video, suddenly she is seeing food everywhere. As content creators, do trends and algorithms influence the kind of content you make?
Like I mentioned before, trends and algorithm is the greatest asset to gain more engagements. That's why being an influencer is also joining trends.
Definitely, especially now that trends can literally blow up overnight. One viral product, outfit, food, or opinion can suddenly influence thousands of people. As an influencer, I can see how powerful content can be, which is why I think we should still think ourselves before following every trend.
Yeah, they can influence me, especially when I notice that certain types of content are getting more attention. But I don't want to create something just because I know it will perform well. I usually look at what's trending for inspiration and then decide if I can make it fit my own personality and style.
If an algorithm keeps showing us things we already like, are we really choosing what we watch?
Yes, not all trend is worth to follow, ha. If I think it's not appropriate, then no. If it's not gonna match my niche, then no. That's easy.
I think we are, but it depends on how aware we are. We have the option to unfollow people, change our interests, or take a break whenever we want. The problem is that sometimes we keep scrolling without thinking about it. So having control also means knowing when to stop.
Yes, agree. I think we still have control, but sometimes we don't realize how much influence the algorithm has on our choices. We can choose who to follow, what to watch, and what to engage with, but we also have to be intentional about those choices.
Or is the algorithm slowly choosing for us? We have talked about what we watch, but social media can also influence what we buy, wear, eat, and even think. Have you ever become interested in something simply because you kept seeing it online? Why do you think seeing the same product or trend from different creators makes it more appealing?
Yes, for me kasi I love exploring contents that inspires me to do more or benefits me on information. And because of that, I can't stick to one single style content because lol, that's low-key exhausting me. For me, half of it is me and half of it is the algorithm showing it to me.
Because when we see the same product or trend from different creators, it can make us feel like it's more popular, trustworthy, and worth trying. Especially when each creator has a different style of showing or recommending, it creates more curiosity and make us think, okay, maybe this is actually good if everyone is talking about it. As an influencer, I'd say it also feels more convincing because we're seeing different people have their own experience with the same thing instead of just seeing one person promote it.
Miss Arais, you mentioned that one viral product, outfit, food, or opinion can suddenly influence thousands of people. As an influencer, how do you see that responsibility?
I see it as a responsibility to be more careful with what I post because I know that one viral video can influence a lot of people, especially when it comes to products or opinions. I don't want people to blindly follow me just because I recommend something. I'd rather be honest about my experience, check the information first, and remind my followers to think for themselves too.
How can we tell whether we genuinely want something or we are just being influenced by what we are seeing? We have talked about how our friends influence us. We have talked about how influencers influence audiences. We have talked about how algorithms influence what we see. And we have talked about how trends can influence our decisions. So now, let's go back to the question we asked at the beginning. Who really controls social media?
I'd say it depends on the person. Social media has a lot of power to grab our attention, but it can't completely control us unless we allow it to. I think the real power comes from being aware of our habits. If we know when to question things, take breaks, and make our own decisions, then we're still in control.
For me, I think it's kind of both, but I'd say people should have more control. Social media can influence us a lot, but at the end of the day, we're still the ones choosing whether to believe, follow, buy, or engage with something. We just have to be aware and how easily we can be influenced.
Do you think people have more control Or does social media have more control over us? Okay, guys, one last thought provoking question. If social media disappeared tomorrow, what would change the most in your life?
Honestly, my daily routine would change a lot. I probably have more free time, but I'd also miss connecting with my audience. I think we'd all realize just how much of our day we actually spend online.
Honestly, a lot, especially because content creation has become such a big part of my life. I definitely miss being connect with my supporters and share my content with them. But at the same time, maybe it would always remind me that there's a whole world outside the screen that I should enjoy too.
Maybe that's something worth remembering. Social media can be a big part of our lives, but it shouldn't become our entire life. Imagine a 12-year-old is about to create their very first social media account. What's one thing you would tell them before they click sign up?
I would tell them to enjoy social media, but don't rush into trying to be popular. Take your time, be yourself, and remember that you don't have to post everything just to fit in. Also, if something online makes you uncomfortable or confused, don't be afraid to step away and talk to someone you trust. Your real life is always more important than your online life.
Enjoy it, but don't let it consume you. Social media can be a really fun place to connect, learn, and express yourself. But always remember you you or what you saw online isn't the whole reality. Protect your peace, think before what you post, fact check what you see, and most importantly, don't forget to live your life outside the screen.
Today's conversation reminds us that social media is powerful, but being influenced doesn't mean we have completely lost control. Being media literate means thinking before believing, checking before sharing, and being aware of how the content we consume can affect our choices. Social media can help us connect, learn, create, and express ourselves. But we should also remember that there is a world beyond the screen. So, who really controls social media? Maybe the answer depends on how aware we are of our own choices. Thank you to Miss Araes, Miss Arope, and Miss Paglinawan for sharing your experiences. And thank you to everyone listening. Until next time, stay informed, stay responsible, and remember, think, check, and choose.
I just had to let you know you're